Hello, this is Joe Polish, president of Piranha Marketing and founder of the Genius Network interview series, and you're about to hear one of my Genius Network interviews, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this, and I hope you find it very useful. If you want to find out more information about some of the interviews and resources that can help you in your business, you can go to www.joepolish.com. And we have a Joe Polish Recommends section with all kinds of resources and vendors and services and products that we recommend that can help you in your business. And also for more useful interviews and a whole list of other people that I've interviewed, you can go to www.geniusnetwork.com. Thanks and enjoy the interview.
Hello, this is Joe Polish, president of Piranha Marketing and founder of the Genius Network interview series. Today I'm going to interview a guy that I've known for many years. I've just never actually interviewed him. His name is Yanik Silver. Yanik, can you hear me okay?
I can. Hey, Joe.
How you doing?
Excellent.
Wonderful. Looking forward to doing this. Looking forward to finally doing an interview with you. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
What part of the country are you in before we get started?
I am in Potomac, Maryland.
Okay. I'm in Arizona, and here we are. So this is going to be the only portion of the interview that I actually read, just to make sure I get the bio right, all these notes and everything that has been put together about you. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. All right, here we go. Who's Yanik Silver? Yanik Silver truly leads the ultimate Internet lifestyle of fun, freedom, and financial independence funded by the Internet. He's recognized as a leading expert on creating automatic money-making websites, and he's only been online full-time since February 2000. He's been featured on the cover of Millionaire Blueprints magazine, Inside Business 2.0, Time.com, About.com, Staples.com, Internet.com, Denver Business Journal, and others. Yanik's friends were rolling on the floor laughing when he told them he was going to put up a website, and they had every right to be amused since he had absolutely no website design skills, zero HTML or coding knowledge, in fact, not much computer know-how whatsoever, and he still pretty much doesn't. I'm sure that's true, right?
That is absolutely true.
Okay. Yanik is a self-proclaimed computer dunce, but that didn't stop him from going ahead with his simple two-page website idea he got at 3 o'clock in the morning. That site was instantsalesletters.com, and the flood of orders hasn't stopped since. Starting from his one-bedroom apartment with just $1,800 invested, Yanik has personally sold over $12 million online and counting with 0 employees except for his wife, Missy. He sold everything from ebooks on fitness, drawing techniques, and houseplants to $20,000-plus mastermind programs. He drives more traffic to his homemade bare-bones sites than huge multinational conglomerates. And after hearing of his success, students from all over the world began asking Yanik to share his inside secrets. Now they've gone on to sell tens of millions in nearly every type of market on the Internet, from potty training to guitar lessons to salsa dancing. He's the author, co-author, or publisher of several best-selling online marketing books and tools found at surefiremarketing.com. Personally, Yanik does get his thrills from any kind of extreme activity he can find. He's taken part in the running of the bulls, bungee jumping, skydiving, Baja racing, exotic car road rallies, zero-G flights, and more, documenting it at internetroadtrip.com, which, yes, that's the other side of you, Yanik, that I would like to actually touch on other than the business stuff, as you do tend to find enormous joy in doing all kinds of crazy, wacky things that you're pretty much well known for. So anyway, thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me. Is there something that I didn't cover in that bio that everyone should know about you?
That I have 2 wonderful kids. One's a little 2-year-old boy, Zach, and a little 8-week-old girl, Zoe.
Zach and Zoe, very cool.
It's like a little fairy tale.
It kind of is. Who came up with the names? I mean, obviously, I hope this was a joint venture with you and your wife. But
yeah, it's a collaboration.
Okay. Very cool. Well, let's talk about what most people know you for in the marketing world, and you are very, very well known in the marketing world, very much endorsed and constantly quoted and asked to speak, write about, and discuss your strategies. I mean, we, both me and you, have actually come from the world of direct mail and direct marketing, which is where we first learned our marketing skills, and we've read a lot of the same books and known a lot of the same people, and it's kind of cool just to see how far this skill set of direct response marketing can take you. So I would consider you, just from a personal standpoint, someone that has definitely an expertise in direct response marketing applied to the Internet and technology, and you've done a lot of great things with it. So I guess the first thing I'll ask you, and this will be really informal, I mean, we talk about anything you want, is with the knowledge of marketing that you got into in the first place, what drove you to decide to get into, marketing online through info products and all the other things you've done?
Yeah, well, you're right about the background and direct response. I mean, that's what I think is one of the key fundamentals that has really helped me become so successful online, and I see it missing from a lot of people who just get online most recently and try and make their fortunes online, is they're missing a lot of the fundamental mail order direct response principles, just like you talked about with all the older books, really, and anyone from Claude Hopkins to David Ogilvy and John Caples and Eugene Schwartz and Maxwell Sackheim, and we could go on. And early on, I heard Earl Nightingale say that if you want to become an expert in a subject, just read for 1 hour a day for 3 years. And if you want to become a world expert, read for 1 hour a day for 5 years. And I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. What would happen if you read for 2 hours or 3 hours a day?
Right.
And so I just devoured all that stuff and absolutely loved it. So as far as the Internet and why I got into that, I worked for my dad growing up, a little family business, medical equipment sales and service, and so I got some interesting sales skills early on that most people aren't as privileged to get, even though I didn't think it was a privilege when I was growing up and in that business.
Yeah, you never do, huh?
No. When I was 14, he had me telemarketing for latex gloves, selling them to dentists, and I would cold call dentists. I would send out my own samples of gloves, and then I'd follow up and try and sell them boxes of gloves. And, I thought that was the worst job in the world. And then when I was 16, my dad has a really thick Russian accent. He's from Moscow, and he's like, "Mr. Yanik, go make some sales." So he kicked me out, and he's like, "Okay, go call on some doctors." And so I'm 16, and I got my driver's license, and I'm out there cold calling on doctors now as a little punk 16-year-old kid. But learning and growing up with that really gave me the opportunity to get into sales and marketing at a really, really early age. And it was one of my doctor clients who gave me a Jay Abraham tape when I was 17. And I just listened to that thing multiple times. And I'm like, wow, there's a better way of doing this. I don't have to cold call on docs. And, there's lots of other ways I can get them to come to me. And so I slowly started increasing my knowledge there and written a bunch of ads for my dad's business. And that started really making the phones ring and the fax ring with orders. You never thought we'd be able to sell these really sophisticated pieces of medical equipment with ads that I wrote. They were very Joe Sugarman style ads. Docs were sending us, giving us their credit card numbers for $5,000, $10,000 pieces of medical equipment, or asking to see a sales rep, when before it was a whole cold call thing. And so that gave me my confidence to be able to then expand and kind of, I got this itch to go out on my own, and I started this little info business selling to doctors how to increase their practice. I started with dermatologists and then moved on to cosmetic surgeons. And from following, I think, the same model that you originally followed, Joe.
I think so. JPDK, that sort of stuff.
Right. So I was having some moderate success with that, about $150,000 a year, $120,000 a year within about a year and a half. And for a little, I think I might have been 25 at the time. So it was, pretty exciting. And then I decided, I don't really need this job with my dad anymore. And so I went off on my own, and this was late 99. I didn't even have an email address, nothing like that. And I saw people who were selling e-books online and making pretty good money with it. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. All they did is slapped up a sales letter. I know how to do that. And they figured out how to drive traffic. And they got traffic there, and people whipped out their wallets, and then they bought this little e-book, which is all delivered online. And so all the profit margin, they would collect like 97% of the selling price, or less what they paid affiliates. And we can talk about affiliates later on.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna ask you about that.
Yeah, and so I looked at that. I'm like, wow, that's an amazing model. Let me try something like that. And like you said in my bio, I literally woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with this idea for a website called Instant Sales Letters. And I wanted it to be something different than just an e-book, and I wanted it to be something that would make me money while I slept, and all the good stuff that you hear about the Internet. And so these are fill-in-the-blank sales letter templates for small business owners. that when I first put it up there, we made about $1,800 the first month. And I remember the first email coming in telling me that I had made $29.95, and it was, just so exciting to see that email, to wake up and know that somebody had paid you $30 for something. That was really, one of those memories that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. And I remember that customer's name. I still remember him, where he's from. So it went up to about $3,600, and then about $7,800, and then about $9,600 by the fourth month. And so I had a six-figure business online by the fourth month, and it just grew from there. And that's when people started asking me what I was doing and how I did it, and how I got to be where I was so quickly. And this is kind of a long answer to that question, but that was the foundation, was all the direct marketing stuff.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out, and this is really important, and our internet marketing buddies and our regular marketing pals and all the people that we know that will be listening to this, they understand direct response, and that's what they do, and they know the importance of that skill set. What's interesting, if you go out and survey most people that are quote-unquote internet experts, they would not mention any of the people that you mentioned when you said names, like Claude Hopkins and Dave Ogilvy and Vic Schwab and all the just masters of direct response marketing. And what I think is really something to emphasize, I mean, I personally love talking about that stuff the entire time, which, to me, I'd be happy just to talk about the psychology of direct response marketing and putting, words on paper and the importance of that. However, I want to, pick your brain about internet-related technology and stuff. The point I want to make, though, with the listeners is that it's that skill set that really what you started with and what you've been able to look at and leverage into the internet. You said a really good, interesting thing. You said, something we all heard, which is the word model. You said, I looked at this model that was out there, and I just did it. I thought that was a neat model. And so you apply great marketing to a great model. You can make money pretty much doing anything. I mean, I learned my marketing skill sets, of course, as a dead broke carpet cleaner, never thinking I'd be teaching other people anything about marketing. I did it because I needed to eat and feed myself, and I figured out how to actually utilize direct response marketing to sell a service, carpet cleaning, that nobody wants to buy. I mean, no one's interested in buying carpet and upholstery cleaning services, but it can be applied to sell anything that is sold, just like you did with your father, just like you did with doctors, and now what you do very successfully on the internet. So I guess to sort of bring some closure to that knowledge, what would you say to people that are out there wanting to get into the internet business? What do they really need to know? What are the essentials about marketing that would give them an edge, an advantage, and in many cases what I consider a necessary ingredient in order to ever have success with the internet? If they know something about computers or nothing whatsoever, what should they do or know about marketing?
Essentially going back and studying people who are masters of mail order. And the internet today is almost like mail order on steroids. You don't have to wait 3 weeks for an ad to run or 2 months for you to get the results of an ad, and you don't have to have all these little tiny classified ads out there everywhere. It's really just sped up everything, and as far as testing and things that we could even go into. But knowing that if you go back and look at the people who got mail order right, those same principles, just tweaked a little bit, are going to apply to the internet and make you a whole lot of money. So just go back and find the people that knew what they were doing essentially 50 and 100 years ago.
One thing that I recently had a conversation with a couple of marketing friends of mine, and we were saying even, in the 1970s and 80s and stuff, if someone wanted to lay out an ad, they were using whiteout and X-Acto knives and doing things that would take sometimes hours and weeks that on a computer you can do in literally minutes and seconds in some cases. And people say, well, it's so hard to put together marketing. It's like, well, you have really no idea. So to follow up with what you're saying, going and studying people from 50 to 100 years ago that literally had to figure out how to make, a case, how to create compelling desire off of some words that were written on a piece of paper that were infinitely...
Before there was fax, before there was email, before there's all those easy ways of responding.
Exactly. So that's such good advice. I mean, I'm glad you talk about that.
One other real quick point, as I remember it, is, and you and I are both fans of this gentleman, and I may pronounce his name wrong, but Robert Cialdini.
Yeah, said it right.
Yeah, I mean, that's my absolute favorite marketing book, and it it doesn't quite have anything to do with marketing. I'm a big fan of psychology of selling and influence, not in a negative sort of join me and join my cult kind of way, but getting people positively influenced for good. And if you understand psychology of selling, even if you don't have the right copy or you don't have the right layout on your website or you don't have the right email capture page or, whatever, all the little things that go into having a successful online business, if you got the psychology right, more often than not, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, I heard Jeff Paul say many years ago, and I've always loved this line, is that technology is important, but psychology is infinitely more important than technology. You just got to know which technologies to use and how. And the book you're talking about, Robert Cialdini, is called Influence, in case anyone's wondering. It is a great book, and you are fabulous at utilizing all of those methods inside all of the marketing that you've always done. I mean, and I think we all are as marketers, and I even interviewed him for the same series. But yeah, I mean, great. So anyway, so let me talk a little bit. We're going to come back, obviously, back and forth to the subject of marketing, and I really want to make a point if someone just was wanting to figure out how to be successful with this business and quit listening to what we've talked about so far and just started understanding that learning the psychology of marketing is probably the core skill set first needed, then, they're on the right path. You're clearly not a computer expert, and when I sit and think about people that are listening to these conversations that I do with me interviewing other experts, they have these barriers that keep them from doing what it is that I'm talking to the person about doing. So one of those big barriers, I would imagine, would be being a computer expert. What sort of knowledge do you have to be in order to have even a decent chance of making money on the Internet?
You got to understand what kind of model you're trying to get your revenue from, and there's probably several main ways of selling, and you definitely do not need to be a computer expert. And in my bio, I said I'm a self-proclaimed computer dunce, and that's totally the truth. I mean, before we even got on this call, I'm like, oh man, Joe, my computer just blew up. I got to reboot the thing, and so I have. Well,
you know what? Let me say something to that, Yanik, because it's actually really kind of funny. Before we actually started recording, we're sitting here, and you're saying, I said, did you get over something I sent you? What's really funny about this is I'm taking this month, I'm completely getting off email entirely. So I had sent out an email to you, a couple days ago, and I just wanted to see if you got it because we're doing this interview during at the end of a weekend. And you said, my computer's a piece of crap. It's not coming up. I got to wait for it to come up. And I said, how funny is that? You're running this multi-billion-dollar, computer business, and you don't really need to have a great computer per se. Not that you probably don't have a good computer, but the point is, you're not some big, huge company there with massive, amounts of hardware making this operation work.
Yeah, no, like I said, I started this from a one-bedroom apartment, and then we moved into our next place, and I literally worked out of a 10-square-foot office in the basement where it's freezing cold. I'd have to have a hat on and a space heater in the middle of August. But, I didn't need racks and racks of servers or anything like that. I've taken students every once in a while on a field trip to my office, and they're like, where's the servers? You just run out of here. And now I got my own dedicated office in our brand new house, which is very exciting. But, I didn't need that. I could run it from anywhere. And being, like I said, a computer dunce, I find people who are way smarter than me, putting up web pages, doing any of the technical stuff. And we hire a lot of outsourcers. I have my tech guy who's on retainer. He's not an employee. He's an independent contractor. Like I said, we only have one employee. That's my wife, and it's hard to fire her.
Do you ever have to give her time out with the kids and stuff? Or?
Yeah, she has a lot of time off with the kids right now.
No, I meant time out. Like, is that
time out?
Yeah, reprimanding and stuff.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding, of course.
I definitely don't consider her a full-time employee.
Well, wait. First off, you take a lot of time off, too, because, one thing, and we will talk about this, too, is we can talk about it at any point in time. You're really big on lifestyle. I know the reason that you've chosen, I don't know all the reasons, of course, everyone has their own motives. It's just I know that a lot of the reasons that you do what it is you do and you set your business up this way is so that you can be pretty mobile. You can do all these crazy things that you do, jumping out of airplanes and all this other nonsense. So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about that just from the very beginning, because I think it has a lot to do with the motivations behind why you do what it is you do, and it'll make more sense when you describe how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a clear-cut thing when I originally started. Originally, it was just, hey, this looks like a really good model, and I can run it from anywhere, and it seems like a lot of fun. What it's evolved into is pretty much being an ideal lifestyle business. And I talk a lot about that. I have a site called Internet Lifestyle, where just right now it's a blog where I talk about it, and the little tagline is the fun, freedom, and financial independence, all funded by the Internet. And to me, that's a big deal. Like I mentioned, we have 2 kids now, and the opportunity to stay at home and with my wife and I to raise the kids is really important to me, even though sometimes it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But it's really important because, you know, my son, everyone comments how happy my son is, and I really think that it's because he's got both his mom and dad around all the time. And, you know, I might be wrong, but just the opportunity to see even the little milestones in his life where not just, you know, big things like his first step, but the first time he nods his head yes or something like that. You know, the first time he says a certain word. I mean, instead of me finding out about it when I come home at night, dead tired at 7 o'clock at night, and I can maybe see the kid for 15 minutes before he's off to bed, to me that's not really living. I would like the full balance of not just making a good amount of money off of business that I love, but also the opportunity to pursue my passions and joy and things that really make me happy. So not just the family aspect, but like you mentioned, all the crazy stuff. And of course, that's not going to resonate with everyone, but substitute whatever you're into for what I do. I mean, I'm into any kind of extreme thing, from running with the bulls, which is an awesome party experience, and it's just an amazing experience overall, to Baja racing.
I don't get the whole running the bulls thing. To me,
that's awesome. It was. I'd love to go back next year.
Yeah, you see how awesome it is when a bull tramples you or something. I could just. So you're going to go next year again?
I'm thinking about it. We'll see what my wife says.
You know, what do you think it is about certain entrepreneurs? Like, take Richard Branson, of course. You know, Richard Branson,
he's a big hero of mine.
Yeah, and, you know, he does all this crazy, wacky stuff, and he also simultaneously, you know, runs this, you know, massive business that require a lot of people to, you know, rely on his existence in order to, you know, have a life and a career and all that good stuff, and he constantly, you know, jeopardizes that with some of these extreme sports. What do you think the motivation is behind that sort of drive?
I can only talk about it from my own aspect, and maybe it's the same, but it's that living on the edge type thing. It's, you know, the entrepreneurial, I don't know, risk-reward maybe.
Yeah.
The fact that it's like the self-reliance, that knowing that if you screw up, then you're going to be in serious peril. And that self-reliance of knowing that you can get yourself out of any situation, or that excitement factor, part adrenaline, part confidence maybe.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting thing because I've thought about it a lot. I mean, entrepreneurs are definite risk takers. It is the people that I know that are successful are the ones that do not place security, you know, above their ability to pretty much carve out their own path in life and really take on things that in many cases they not only fail, they could fail badly and destroy themselves.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, I jumped out of an airplane years ago because I had a fear of heights. And, you know, my method of trying to address that fear was jumping out of an airplane. And I've done that twice. And, you know, I have a photo of it when I first jumped out, where they snap right when you know, jump out of the plane. And, you know, people are like, oh, that had to be so much fun. And I say, yeah, you know, I'll say things like, it was pretty cool, but I was like, it scared the crap out of me. It was insane. I was hating life the entire time. And then when I was floating down when the chute finally opened, it was funny. The first time I jumped out of an airplane, it opened. I don't even know what you call it because I'm not an expert in skydiving, where it was actually tangled, and I needed to kick my way out of it.
Me too.
Yeah, I was like completely freaked out, and you know, by the time I got down, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. But nonetheless, it helped. It helped a little bit. But I'd sit and think, okay, what is it about these risk takers? And same thing with you. I mean, whatever someone's into, and yeah, you're speaking from your own perspective, and that's the beauty of life, when you can pretty much do what you want to do, and you're not doing it because someone's telling you, or that you're trying to live up to your, fathers or friends or parents or society's expectations. You're just doing your own thing, and you've kind of done your own thing, the whole time I've known you in business and stuff. So I think there's a huge lesson there for everyone listening, is that, the old cliche we're all sick of hearing is, life is not a dress rehearsal. I mean, you're either going to do it or you're not. And you kind of, I think, are a great model for that to many people, is you not only go out and figure out ways to make money and carve new paths, but you also make it a point to, live your life the way you want to live your life, and you're doing a good job of sharing that and helping other people do it. So
right.
I guess the pep talk motivational part of the interview here for people, when it comes to lifestyle, you said you set up a site about lifestyle stuff. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the internetlifestyle.com. One quick thing, going back to the Branson and the extreme stuff, and I've actually signed up for Branson's Virgin Galactic flight. I think you and I talked about that.
How much did that cost you?
Well, that's an interesting question, and most people would say it cost me $200,000. But the way that I always think about it is, what can I do to create value for my customers that they'll pay for whatever adventure I want to go on? And
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I pretty much funded the whole thing with a little workshop that I ran, and now I'm going to be selling DVDs of it shortly, and it's going to pay for it multiple times over. I had the incentive to create the workshop to pay for the trip, and now it's going to be an asset that can keep making me money over and over again.
Yanik, it actually reminds me, I don't know if you've heard of that conversation with John Lennon and Paul McCartney from years ago, where I think it was Paul was saying to a reporter, people say that the Beatles aren't capitalists, and he's like, that's not true at all. I remember sitting down with John and saying, hey, let's write ourselves a swimming pool.
Yep, yeah, absolutely, and that's the exact same thing.
Yeah, so I think that's great. So okay, so you're gonna go on this big space travel thing. And,
yeah, gonna go on that, and that's on my big list. I have a big list of stuff that I want to get done in my life, not just goals, but experiences really. And one of them is to go out into space, and so I wanted to figure out a way to make it happen. And I think by setting up your business in such a way that you got stored value in your customers and who appreciate you and know that you're going to provide value, whatever package you throw at them or whatever offer you throw at them is just a way to essentially get them to write the ticket for whatever you want.
Exactly. That's what business really is. It's the ability to have, write whatever ticket you want, and this just happens to be our playground and our vehicle to get those things. I mean, my whole acronym that I use all the time is ELF, marketing, easy, lucrative, and fun, versus a half business, hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating, or hard, annoying, lucrative, and frustrating.
Uh-huh.
And I see zero intelligence in doing something for money that you have to sacrifice your life for. I mean, what is the point?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm actually going to be combining my big passions shortly. I don't think I've told you about this, but at some point it's going to be called Maverick Business Adventures, and it's going to be a combination of entrepreneurs, high-level achievers, and entrepreneurs going on these cool adventure trips. And not all of them are going to be as crazy as running at the Bulls or anything like that. They'll be tamer, but and then going out and the high-level masterminding and business building that comes from that. And so combining my two passions really and seeing what happens from it.
Well, I could imagine a running to the Bulls, marketing super conference or something. That would be kind of funny.
Yeah, it would be great.
It would take a marketer like you, though, to figure out how to write that sales letter and actually get people to pay to show up. And I mean, I know you could do it, which I think is really funny. Branson, when I had dinner with him, he told me that at some point in time, he would take me up into space. He kind of made the comment, and I'm really hoping that will be the case, because I will just watch how you parlay that into a marketing and sales campaign. And the cool thing about it, with this sort of marketing knowledge, when you have this skill set, and I'm going to go into some specific questions right after I make this comment, is that anything in life can be turned into a product.
or a service, as long as it's interesting and people want it, and it can add value to their lives, and value can come in the form of entertainment or pain relief or making more money or reducing stress or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that you can add value to people's lives, and you just have figured out how to take a lot of the things you do and turn it into capitalistic endeavors. And I think that is the beauty of a real entrepreneur. I mean, they're able to take something out of nothing and turn it into something valuable.
I could not agree more. Yeah, I know a lot of entrepreneurs. It's interesting. We're an immigrant family. Like I said, my dad's from Russia, and we came over when I was 2.5, and that starting with nothing, I got to experience that firsthand from my father. He came over about $256 in his pocket and built a multi-million-dollar medical equipment business. So being around that, and a lot of my family are entrepreneurs, and that it really engraves itself into your mind, I think, in the way that you approach things, instead of looking for handouts, instead of thinking about, oh, these people owe me something. It's just, let's just start doing it and see what happens, and go with nothing and build.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Okay, well, so let me talk about some specifics then, and then. Yep. Because we won't take a long time here. I mean, I'm going to hit you with some questions that are specific things on how to make money, and let's just give people some good laser coaching here on things that they can do. And if any of this resonates with the listeners, I would, of course, encourage people to watch what you're doing, read what you've done. You've produced some amazing knowledge products, and so some good stuff out there. So for people that, if you have an offline business, let's say you're not an internet marketer, many of my carpet and upholstery cleaning people, what are some ways to take advantage of the internet to build revenue? Meaning, can you use an existing website to create found money for your business, kind of like you do with information marketing, or what are the ways that they should go about using the internet and websites to build and grow their business?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question, because typically I work a lot. I specialize with information marketers, but I do work a lot with people who sell hard products, or they got an existing service business, or whatever the case is, and they can all benefit from really just a couple simple things. One, I worked with let's just call it a manufacturer of a glop, for lack of a better term, and Dan Kennedy likes to call it glops. They sold they're like wrinkle reducing creams, things like that. And
yeah, I love the word glop, GLOP. It's just such a anything could be like looked at as glop. It allows you to remove the personal love you have of your product and service and just start looking at it from the ability, okay, how do I take this stuff, whatever this stuff is, and sell it?
And the few simple things that I told them to do were worth an extra $300,000 to them in their first couple months that they implemented. So it really doesn't take much. So a couple of the things that I had them do, one was an emphasis on capturing email addresses. All right, so basic, so simple, but yet most people completely forget about this. This weekend I was spending time with a guy who gets like 100,000 unique visitors to his site every single month. And I'm like, so how many people are on your website, or on your email list? He's like, about 25,000. I'm like, God, you're crazy. You're killing me.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, yeah, well, I'm like, how do they sign up? And they have a little button at the top that says subscribe. That doesn't work. It works a little bit because he's got 25,000 people on his list. But if you had something either in one of what I call the old direct marketing term called above the fold, but that is the first screen that you see on your website, and that's a really, really important screen. So that's going to be, depending on what size most people's browsers are set to, and you can look in your stats, have your tech guy look at it, and he can tell you, or he or she can tell you, and then optimize that first page for this. And you want to have above the fold some way for them to give you their name and email address. And most of the times it requires some sort of incentive. It's not going to be enough to just say subscribe or join our newsletter or anything like that. You've got to bribe them a little bit. And
how do you bribe people?
With information. It's by giving them some sort of killer information that they really, really want, that they really want to have. And the great thing is that we can all use information in our businesses. If you sell a service, Joe, you've taught this for years with the carpet cleaners, that that you have the consumer awareness hotline type thing. That's information.
Right.
If you're selling glop, we would give them out a report about the 7 ways to make yourself look 7 years younger or something like that. And so you have a really compelling title to your information. That's important. That's just like a headline in our marketing. And so we use that as an incentive to get people to give us their email address. I've also done contests where each month that there's a drawing for something. So if you don't want to give information, maybe it's a contest, but some sort of incentive to get them to give you their email address. And if you're feeling even more aggressive, you can use a pop-up, but a new technology of pop-ups, which is called I'm going to give a little techie term here, but don't be misled. I'm not techie whatsoever. A DHTML layer pop-up. Just ask whoever.
DHTML layer pop-up.
Yeah, it's one of those things that basically doesn't get blocked by pop-up blockers because it's part of your website essentially.
Gotcha.
If you've surfed around, you would have seen them, no doubt, because even if you got pop-up blocker on, it's something that either slides in from somewhere. You're like, what is this thing?
Where's one that someone could see on one of your sites?
Actually, at internetlifestyle.com, they can check it out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, what is really important here, and again, I want to highlight, and this is the sort of thing that drives our marketing buddies crazy when they listen to this, because I know a ton of marketers are going to listen to, a Joe Polish and Yanik Silver conversation. It's just that I love the Emerson quote, which is, you ask for a new idea when you haven't used the first one that I gave you. And, there's all kinds of stuff that you're going to mention. Not a ton, but there'll be several profound things that you will say that make a huge difference. And one of those is collect the emails from all of your clients. And, don't have the sales prevention department put this together for you. If you currently have people that are designing your sites and doing stuff and they're talking you out of putting in an email capture section of your website and making that not buried somewhere on this page or 2 or 3 or 4 pages in, but the primary thing and motive, that's what you're suggesting people do, and it's such useful, valuable advice, and it could make, like you said, that is the starting point for some companies making not only a few thousand more a year, but in many cases millions of dollars additional by doing that.
Right, and then once you got their names and email, then it becomes a case of creating meaningful contacts with them. And the best way of doing this, which is for me the perfect way because I'm pretty lazy, is using what's called an autoresponder, and that's almost like a little email robot that you can program to go out, send out your messages that are pre-written that you've written in any interval, any sequence that you want. So it could be once a week that they get a message from you, or twice a week, or whatever the case is. And if there's something meaningful in there, they're going to look forward to receiving more and more stuff from you, and then you'll be able to sell them whenever you make an offer. And that's another big point is a lot of people get scared about sending out offers to their customers and prospects. They understand, okay, well, we should send out a newsletter or whatever the case is, or we should send out these special reports or whatever content, but they always forget about, or they're scared to send out just a straight offer. And if as long as you're not sending out a promo after promo after promo, and there's no value in the relationship and them being subscribed to anything that you send, you're going to see some remarkable results when you start doing that. And
well, let me ask you about frequency of that, because I've interviewed a lot of sharp marketers, and myself included, has an opinion on frequency of communication and stuff. I would love to hear yours. I mean, what? And I know it could be a much deeper question of bonding and rapport and all the things that go into it. Just some rules of thumb on frequency of communication that you could maybe share.
Well, and I haven't really backed this up with any kind of scientific testing. It's more like what has worked and where I'm seeming to get the best results as far as revenue-wise versus people unsubscribing and so on. It's about twice a week I found to work pretty well, and not twice a week sending out a promotion, but unless you're in a heavy promotion cycle, like if you're in a launch or some really heavy promotion cycle, then that's okay. But usually it's maybe twice a week, with some sort of value attached to it. It could be a free interview but then there's something that's sold at the end of the interview, or it could be a newsletter, or it could just be an offer to go check out something, but there's some value to it. But twice a week has worked for me.
What about in conjunction with other integrated direct marketing, such as doing mailings, actual physical snail mail, or doing voice broadcast or follow-up phone calls? I mean, what other forms of, other than electronic communication, do you personally do? I mean, there's no right answer for this. I just want to kind of hear what you do and how you do it, because you clearly have success doing this.
I probably should be doing even more offline, and it's just a matter of laziness. If we got let's say a seminar that I'm promoting, and I'm in seminar promotion mode, then I'll go out and do a direct mail piece to all our prospects who fall within a certain range. Like, let's say they spent over $500 with us in the last 2 to 3 years, and so it'll be in conjunction with all the email promotions and all the electronic stuff, or if a lot of times I'll use the voice broadcast really as to augment something that I'm doing. So if I'm doing a teleseminar and the people who signed up for the teleseminar, I want them to make sure that they're on the line, then we'll send out a voice broadcast to get them on there in addition to the email confirmation.
Yeah, and also I love hearing the things like I'm kind of lazy, I should do more. I mean, I think there's always that self-induced entrepreneurial guilt of all the other things we could do. I just like hearing when people admit that they could do more, because it is a constant reinforcement that you can be a dysfunctional individual and still be successful in spite of yourself if you understand marketing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm partially kidding, of course. No, there's certainly a knowledge of expertise and skill set, and you. A lot of people look at you as an overnight rags to riches success. I also know that you have put in your time learning the education, and I admire anyone that is willing to do that, because that is the part of having an elf business that isn't really elf. I mean, you can't be a moron and just show up one day and think you're going to sell stuff to people because you want money. I mean, there's something to do with value and understanding your art and being a professional at it and constantly growing. And, I made money, a lot of money, very early. In my 20s is when I started making very good money, and that's a huge advantage, and there's a lot to it. I also will say that while most of my friends were out partying and, just screwing off, I was studying marketing books and going to seminars and doing all that stuff. Absolutely.
I can recall many times when, and I was not a nerd by any stretch of the imagination.
You mean now or then?
Both.
No, I'm kidding.
Both times. And but I remember it was interesting. Like, I'd pull away. Let's say I play ice hockey and I play beach volleyball. So I remember like pulling away from the rink. All my buddies are out there and hanging out and talking more and whatever. And I'm leaving. I leave early, and the first thing I stick in my car is some educational cassette or CD program, and just listening to those over and over again when everyone else, for the most part, was filling their heads with the latest, I don't know, Nirvana CD or whatever.
Yeah, no, I remember. I mean, when you say cassette, it's really true. I remember when we first were learning all this stuff, we were watching VHS tapes and audio cassette tapes and tape players. There weren't, iPods did not yet exist.
Yeah, I was annoyed when I got a new car and they only had a CD player. And
I know, it bugged the heck out of me. I made a decision to buy an SUV once that still had a tape player when most of them were it actually had a tape player and a CD player in it. But I mean, could you imagine just that most people couldn't fathom, picking their vehicle over how you're going to listen to a self-improvement program. I mean, there's something to be said about that. Just like there's something to be said about someone that even be listening to this interview right now trying to pick up and learn knowledge. I mean, it's a certain type of person. And those are the type of people that tend to make more money and are more successful than the ones that don't do this stuff.
Yeah, no, and even though I'm successful now, and so are you, I mean, I know you're a constant learner. You're always asking people questions. You're always seeking new knowledge, products. I spend about, I don't know, maybe $50,000-$60,000 on top of what I get as far as review products to check out, and that's, if I had to pay retail and all that, it'd probably be another $50,000.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff. I mean, I always try and read at least a book a week. It's, sometimes tough with the tiny little baby now, but that's pretty much a minimum. And just, I think that's definitely a common trait among achievers.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. And so, that's kind of funny as people are sitting here listening. Okay, it's like, all right, what's the internet secrets? Well, here's where it starts. Capture an email, but also be willing to go out and learn and read and do those things. And like you mentioned with Earl Nightingale, I mean, I love that whole concept, and I remember that very clearly because it had a huge impact on me, that if you want to be a world-class expert in any area, spend an hour every day reading about it, and within 3 months or 6 months or a year, you are going to know a tremendous amount about any particular subject area. So, anyone that's listening, if you just really got serious, or just not even fully serious, just interested in something and spent, a year's time immersing yourself in that particular area, you will be 99.99999% ahead of everyone else on the planet in that area just from that immersion, and that's really where you got your marketing skills. So let me hit you with a few questions that I think you could just add some great wisdom to. Let's say you wanted to test the idea of creating an online business. How do you decide, what to sell, where to begin without spending a ton of time and money trying a bunch of new different things?
Well, this is one of the greatest things about the internet is it's really made a level playing field for us little guys. It makes it so inexpensive to try and test something out and to see if it will fly or if it won't fly. One of the best things that I would do originally is see who else out there is selling anything similar. And I want to see if they have an affiliate program. And I know you want to ask about that, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'm going to join their affiliate program. And just by way of definition, if I'm an affiliate for this particular product, that means that I refer traffic to the site and I get paid, in most cases, whenever somebody that I refer buys the product or service.
Right.
So this is one of the lowest risk ways of testing out any marketplace. And what you're going to do then is just start driving some traffic to that other person's website to see what happens. You're not even interested if you can make money on. Sometimes the referral commission could be as low as like 5% if you're referring people to, let's say, a book from Amazon. It could be that low. But what you're interested in is if someone is going to vote with their wallet. It's not enough to just do a survey and see if they're interested in something, but I'd rather see if they open up their wallet, take out their credit card, and purchase. So we're going to drive some traffic, and one of the easiest ways of driving traffic, there's really only a handful of ways of getting traffic to your website. You either buy it, you borrow it, or you create it. And by buying it is the quickest and easiest way, and that's typically with Google AdWords is the fastest way. Literally in 15 minutes or less, we could be driving targeted traffic to any particular website we want. And Google has, really basic, most people would know what this is, but if you do a search in Google for anything, on the right-hand side, you're going to see those little boxes, and those are Google AdWords. So if I typed in, Motorola Razr cell phone, you're going to see a whole bunch of people advertising on there who are paying for a click. So anytime somebody clicks on that ad, the advertiser gets charged a certain amount. It could be 5 cents, it could be 10 cents, it could be $1, whatever the case is. So in this point of time, all we're looking for, we don't care that much how much we're paying for the traffic. We just want to buy targeted traffic to see if anybody purchases. And, Google has their own little rules about what you can and can't do. So you might have to build, in most cases, you're going to build like a quick little one-page site, and anyone can build that for you. A kid down at the local college can build it for you for probably a 6-pack of beer and 3 pizzas or something like that, or $50 or...
We don't want to give away that secret, though, Yanik. The way that you're getting most of these sites built are 6-packs and pizzas.
That's right. we have a fridge in my garage that just has all the beer that the kids want. And
yeah, it's like a check. It's kind of like a time clock, but just in a different way.
Yeah, no, but so it's really simple to go out there and for probably about $200 at the most, you could have a little one-page site built, that all it does is redirect people to that other site where you're going to be making a commission, and you can buy a little bit of traffic and see what happens.
So for someone that wants to actually get an education on how to actually go and buy targeted traffic, borrow it, create it, I mean, what are some steps? What do they do?
Well, like I said, there's 3 ways, and we can kind of cover some of them. And each of these ways has probably really specific experts in each of them that you can go and study and drill down into even more deeper insights. Believe it or not, Google, well, I guess it's not that hard to believe since they make money on every single new advertiser they bring in, but Google has really good tutorials on their AdWords system. If you go to google.com/ads, you can get a pretty good tutorial on using it and how to use it effectively. Just the simplest way of doing it is, the best way is just going and trying it out, maybe spending $100 and just playing around with it. And what you will do is you'll do a little bit of keyword research, and Google has a tool for that in there. That one's an OK tool. There's also a tool from Yahoo Search, which used to be Overture, and I only know that old link, which sometimes moves around, but it's http://inventory.overture.com, and hopefully that's still there. And what that does is you type in a keyword, like let's say cats. It'll give you all the number of times that people have searched for specific terms related to cats in the last month. So it could be catnip, cat food, cat dish, cat toys, whatever. I don't own a cat, so I don't.
No, okay. So that's very good advice, though. I mean, because a lot of people, even really
I can't tell you the last time I searched for cats. Realistically,
yeah, and it's not relevant anyway.
Well, but you'll appreciate this because this is somehow it always ends up this weird combination of things. We and my wife and I, it's become a running joke. We call it the orange cat because we wanted an orange Persian, doll-faced Persian, who was a female. And for some reason, there's like some genetic deal that they're only male for the most part. So whenever we're looking for something really random, we call it an orange cat.
You know what? I think with Google out there, if there's a possibility of finding it at this point, you can locate it. It is amazing.
I don't want one anymore now.
Yeah, well, you just kind of ruined it. But no, see, the cool thing about the Internet, too, is that, well, here's the good and the bad about it, and this is purely just, the Joe Polish opinion of the day, which is there's so much access to amazing, cool stuff that you can find specifically because of the structure of the Internet, and what is available in Google is just, oh my God, created this whole new world of research. That's the good part about it. The bad part about it is it's completely overwhelming, and where do you start and what do you do, and there's so many options. And so what I'd like to kind of hear from you, and this may not sound like a specific meat and potatoes sort of question on what to do and how to do it. It is part philosophical. Let's take the stuff you've talked about with lifestyle, the things that you've talked about with, and then I'm going to ask you about affiliates and other various things, but really just making money with an online business. You can be strapped to a computer all day long, checking a bazillion different emails, be caught up in paralysis by analysis because you're doing a million searches and stuff. And one thing I want to point out, because I didn't do a very good job early on, is, you're a person that very much follows. I don't spend time on checking email all day. If someone has your personal email, which I'm going to give that out right now. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to give it out.
And give them my cell phone, too.
Yeah. For having your personal email, autoresponder comes back in, very similar to our friend Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week.
That's who I got it from.
Yeah, and you interviewed Tim before I did. You're one of the first people in this world that actually got to know Tim Ferriss and stuff, and we've both, hung out with that goofball, several times since then, and he's got, some great insight on just looking at this way of setting up your life as it relates to work. And so without getting completely overwhelmed with the Internet, but still being able to make money in it, meaning some great marketers can use email to make sales. They just don't let people use email on them at the degree that a lot of companies attempt to do. So what are your thoughts, comments, strategies, insights that you would give the listeners on that subject?
Well, the biggest thing is we set the rules. You get to make the rule of how people communicate with you, when they can reach you, what you're willing to do for revenue, for income. I mean, it comes down to really a big, broad picture of what are the rules that you're willing to live by. And if you don't set the rules, then other people are going to place their own rules on you. So, even as simple as email communication. Joe, you mentioned that you're weaning yourself off email completely.
Yeah, and I may not do it entirely, but I'm doing it right now, and I'll tell you the reason why. Is I'm actually fully switching over to Apple and Mac products because I think they're just cool as heck. And I use both, and I always have used both, but I'm really just trying to make a complete transition as I simultaneously have an office that currently fully runs all PCs, and I do have a CEO and employees in a large company, and, we have thousands of clients and all that stuff. But for my own personal time, the way that I want to work and how I do it, I don't want to be trying to use one system as I'm trying to switch to another. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm cutting it off entirely, and I don't know how long it'll go. And I'm also doing a test on myself to kind of see my productivity, my focus, and things like that, because I'm one of these type A, entrepreneurs where I can very much find myself getting caught up in the addictive nature of email, where you can sit down for thinking you're going to sit down for 10 minutes and respond, and 2 hours later you're still having communications and stuff. And so
absolutely. Yeah, and especially if tied into that email are orders coming in, so you can see, you punch it like a little trained monkey and see what orders have come in and how much money you made, and then that becomes even more addictive. And it's not just who's communicating with you, it's how much money you bring in and what's going on in the business.
Yeah, well, look, this is a weird comment to probably make in the middle of this sort of interview, how to make money on the internet and stuff. I went to a conference of therapists because I am very fascinated in the whole field of addiction and ADD, ADHD, because I even have formed recently a partnership with Dr. Edward Hollowell, who's the top ADD, ADHD psychiatrist in the world, who actually met through him becoming a part of one of my high-level programs. The guy's just amazing, and there's a big correlation between ADD, real ADD, not, a lot of mental diseases are actually invented by marketers. They're just great ways to come up with, stuff that I believe there's a real, genetic ADD, ADHD, and addiction qualities and stuff. And one of the things that they have found with internet addiction, which is massive, and I'm not just talking, sex on the internet stuff. That's where people think about, gambling. Gambling is huge. Just the mere fact of sitting down and checking email can become very addictive, and it actually changes the neural pathways in a person's brain when they sit in front of a computer all day and just check email. Just like you were saying, the monkey on crack cocaine that keeps pushing the button for more. And I think it's really important that you establish boundaries into how you use this technology, because if you don't set those boundaries, it will actually use you, and it could really destroy your life. You could be doing nothing except working all day long in front of a freaking computer screen, and electronic friends are not the best friends to have.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, and I do struggle with this sometimes. I mean, I've made big strides recently, and a couple of years ago, one of the biggest things I ever did was we started hiring virtual assistants to handle, like it used to be every email would come into me. I mean, that was the initial part of the business, and then my wife came in and she handled customer support like that. And so that relieved it a little bit, but then she got overwhelmed, and so what we had to do was we hired virtual assistants, and that was one of the best things we ever did. So now all our public emails go through a help desk, and of course sometimes it's a little bit of a pain in the butt for customers, but because they want to just email people directly. But to tell you the truth, it's easier for them too, because they get a ticket and they could sometimes get their response right away because there's a whole help desk FAQ and all these different things. So it's like setting it up once, and you can profit from that system. And the virtual assistants now handle, I'd say, about 90 to 95% of all incoming inquiries that they can handle. And then if there's something really unusual, they can come to me or Missy for some guidance, and then that then becomes new knowledge that they can use, and for the next time it pops up. Like you said, with people that have my personal email, there's the autoresponder that I got from Tim that tells people that I only check email twice a day for the most part, and if I'm traveling, it's less. And so that's really been another big help is anything you can do to be proactive and get away from reacting to stimulus coming in is going to be a way that you're going to grow your business and expand whatever is exciting and fun for you.
No, it's so critical, and it allows you to focus on the important things that you focus on. Now, so what my takeaway with a lot of what you've talked about is how you leverage yourself. I mean, you leverage yourself through virtual assistants and the help desk and everything. We've mentioned affiliates. That I look at as another way of just leveraging your sales abilities through the efforts of other people. So let's define what is an affiliate program. What is an affiliate network? How does it work? How do you create your own? That sort of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a really critical success concept for online, and that's the model that I saw working, and that's really how I've built my business to where it is and to be able to run with so few people. Is the ability to leverage. This is borrowing traffic. What we talked about: buying, borrowing, and creating traffic. And by borrowing traffic, essentially, we talked about it before. From the flip side of it is we're affiliates, but now we're going to be an affiliate manager or merchant, and we're looking for people who are going to sell our product, and we're going to give them a commission. So, I mean, in simplest terms, it's almost like looking for salespeople, commissioned salespeople, who you only pay when they make a sale.
Right.
And, I mean, there's almost no downside to it. There's always a downside to everything, but this one, it's pretty tough. There's little issues that you got to be aware of course, with like affiliate fraud and different things. But for the most part, this is one of the best strategies you can employ online if you do it right. And I have around 42,000 affiliates for our main business who have signed up and have the ability to promote our products on their websites or to their email lists or whatever the case is. And they get a commission whenever they make a sale from someone that they refer over. Now, that number is a little bit inflated because there's only, instead of the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, in affiliate marketing, it's more like the 97-3 or 98-2 rule.
Right. About
2 to 3% of your affiliates are going to be your top producers and create 98 to 97% of the revenue. And so there's really two ways of creating an affiliate program. It could be a wide open one where you let anyone join, and then you have tools for them that they can go out and promote your products and services. Or it's a closed one where they've got to be approved, and you only work with a handful of affiliate partners, people that have either big email lists or a lot of affinity and pull with their lists, or they have a lot of traffic coming in, or any number of things. And so there's different ways of doing it, but the mechanics are all the same. It's giving them proven tools, giving them ways that they can promote your product or service to their sphere of influence, for lack of a better word, and then get paid for it.
Yeah, no, I love the whole concept, and you did a great job of explaining what it is and why. And yeah, the statistics. I am just recently getting involved in affiliate stuff, and again, to use your term earlier about being too lazy, I've kind of been too lazy, I guess, in a lot of ways. Where I've just really never set up affiliates, although I've got a waiting list of people that want to sell my things as affiliate programs if I had them set up that way. So
yeah.
I'm finally, at the time of this interview, getting around to actually setting that up and doing it. We've got a team of people working on some of our big projects that would be very affiliate-based. I wanted to ask you, though, do you have products that teach people how to do this that you personally sell?
Yeah, I do. And if they go to surefiremarketing.com and pretty much all our products, we cover affiliate marketing. So it's such a core concept that's contributed to my success. So there's a lot in there. And I want to give people a couple more specifics, maybe if I could, for what to, you hear about this concept of affiliate marketing. It's exciting. You want to go out there and start your own affiliate program tomorrow and get, hundreds, thousands of websites out there promoting your stuff. And there's definitely some caveats that you got to be aware of.
Yeah, so what are those?
One is you don't want to start your program too early. You want to make sure that your site sells or your whole entire sales process works, because there's nothing worse than getting a really big affiliate who's going to push, maybe they got 100,000 people on their email list and they're going to promote your doohickey or your glop or whatever the case is, and they push a whole lot of people to your site, and you make one sale for them or two sales for them, and it's not a very happy conversation with that affiliate afterwards, it's pretty tough to salvage that relationship into much more. So you want to make sure that your process works, from an email that you might give to affiliates to use, to banner ads, to articles, to the entire website itself, converting people into sales. So until you get that conversion down, you don't want to really promote to the world that you have an affiliate program.
Can I make a comparison on that real quick? Just to hear you articulate what I'll do my best to say here. I have people constantly try to do joint ventures with me, promote their stuff to my list, promote my stuff to their list, and things like that. And there's not a week that goes by where we do not have either 4 or 5 to dozens of contacts from various people, including many that are world-famous book authors and speakers and business people wanting us to do something to help promote them or vice versa. And the people that I always work with are, one, people that I'm interested in what it is they're doing, and I'm a user of it, and that I know for a fact that it's good stuff, and I've been able to actually personally take the time to go through it or experience it, or have someone that I very, very much trust have experienced success with it. The people that it's very difficult to work with are people that have, good stuff, decent stuff, even good ideas, but they have no sales material, no sales letters, and they show up and they're like, let's do something, but they've got nothing set up in order to help me sell it. And I try to be nice and tell people it's like the glop, no matter how great it is useless and almost impossible to sell if you don't already have an existing proven sales model in place. So a lot of people come to me, and I would bet to you, saying, hey, let's sell my stuff, thinking they've got something really valuable, but they want me to actually come up with a sales process for them because they haven't figured it out. And it's like, well, that's where all of this, that's why I charge for consulting. That's why, people, invest in learning my things, so you can have that sort of sales model. So what would be the Internet equivalent of that as it relates to affiliate programs?
Well, you hit on a couple things there. I mean, that in a way, an affiliate program is a joint venture of sorts. And it allows you to do joint ventures with hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people all at once, and that's what the software allows you to do. Approaching someone to sell your product or service to their list or their sphere of influence or their traffic coming in without anything proven, without the marketing material, is akin to exactly what you're talking about. Making them try and figure out how they're going to sell your stuff. That's just too much of a hassle for people. For the most part, people are lazy. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And not only are they lazy, but most people don't know how to do the selling and the marketing. So like what you said, which I love the fact that you said that, is don't try to sell it or start the relationship too soon, because you could go out and ruin a potential huge, very profitable joint venture because you don't have all your ducks in a row.
Exactly, yeah. And so don't make them think about how they're going to sell it. Provide them, and with my affiliates, we provide them with pretty much all the tools that they could use for a lot of our products. So everything's pre-done for them. They don't have to think that much, and they got already proven stuff out there that's going to get them sales.
Gotcha. Okay, well, what other things that are must-knows about affiliate stuff?
You got to choose the right software. You got to make sure that it's not going to blow up on you. I've gone through 3 different pieces of software. The first one blew up after we got to about, I think, 10,000 affiliates. It just couldn't handle the load anymore. So I heard this quote once from Tom Phillips from Phillips Publishing, and I thought it was pretty smart. And he said, I think it was something like, if you hire the best, you only cry once. So maybe you're going to spend a little bit more, but you're going to buy the most robust software out there, or really, not do it in an amateur way, and get something that is going to last if you're going to go into this in a big way, or if it's just going to be another thing that you throw out there, then maybe you don't need the best software. If you learn from my experience and having a piece of affiliate software which is critical to your business, you got 10,000 affiliates out there who are promoting stuff, and it blows up and it's not tracking anymore and they're not getting paid anymore, it doesn't make very happy affiliates.
Well, let me ask you another question as it relates to this, is can you make money online without having to create your own products?
Yeah, absolutely. You can become an affiliate for other people's stuff.
Do you know people that have done well, that make not just a decent amount of money, but lots of money, that literally haven't created anything? They just sell other people's stuff.
Yeah. One of my friends, Rosalind Gardner, that's how she originally started. She makes, last public number she told me was $400,000 just selling. She was promoting dating services.
Wow.
And it's not her own dating service or anything like that. She just was good at search engine optimization and getting traffic in. And those sites would pay her on a residual basis.
Well, there you go. The value of marketing. Well, look, just because there's so many more things we could talk about, but I'll wrap up with one more question for you, and it may lead into a couple of other comments. But nonetheless, if there are business owners or anyone listening that would like to take baby steps into making money online, and this has triggered any thoughts, ideas, what would you suggest for them for a startup? And for anyone that just kind of wants to go deeper into this, more so, how would you summarize or articulate the plan and path for people to follow?
It probably depend on if they already had an existing business that they wanted to move to just another pillar online. And if that was the case, then you start small with maybe your best-selling products and put them up online. And you already know that they sell, so it would be creating a sales process that works online with some sort of good sales copy on there that would sell the thing. And most likely you already have some version of it if it's selling offline. And then driving some traffic online, so buying some traffic and also borrowing some traffic via an affiliate program and starting there to bring it into a whole new place that you can make additional revenue from. If you're completely new and don't have anything else going on and you think that you might want to do something online, I would probably suggest one of two things. If you really want to do a baby step, and that would be you can start selling other people's products. If you don't want to create your own product and if you think that's too much of a hassle, though, being someone who specializes in selling and creating information products, I think they're the easiest and most lucrative products you can create, and it's really not as difficult as a lot of people might think. But if you want to take the baby steps, then go find a marketplace that you're passionate about, or a marketplace that you've researched and will pay a lot of money, is accessible online, is pretty rabid. That would be a good other attribute for your marketplace, and start selling them an existing product. And you could even package it up in such a way that the people don't know that it's that other existing product. So by giving your own spin to it, some unique bonuses and a special offer or anything like that, even something as simple as interviewing a couple people in context of that product. So even if it's a hard product, let's just take a really simple example. Let's say you decide that beach volleyball players are a really rabid marketplace, and you're going to start selling a beach volleyball. So you're going to promote that as an affiliate, but to make your offer unique, you can interview or do a quick little videotape or DVD of a handful of pro beach volleyball players showing certain skills about setting or how they serve the ball or what they do to be in position for defense or whatever the case is. And now all of a sudden everyone else who's selling that ball for $40, you can sell it for the same $40 or maybe even more, and you provide a much better value.
I always do my best to pull out really good, valuable stuff out of people, not only, how-to stuff, but really philosophical ways on how they look at business and life. And I really admire a lot of the thoughts and ideas and methods and processes that you use. You've had a lot of success. You have a ton of students that have had great success. You're very well known as a guy in the marketing world that really knows his stuff. And so I have, of course, no qualms and only recommendations for people to watch what you're doing, invest in some of your knowledge products that you have. So anything that we've talked about where people can get further courses, your own or even others that you would recommend for people listening to, go out and get the most out of making money online and building this sort of marketing business, where do you recommend they go? What should they read, listen to, pay attention to, invest in, et cetera, et cetera?
I mean, the list is probably way too long of stuff I'd recommend. I actually have a website I stuck up called YanikRecommends.com. That's YANIK recommends, and that's got my most recommended resources for web entrepreneurs and other knowledge products. And then as far as my own resources and tools, People can check them out either at internetlifestyle.com, where they can see those, plus my blog about a lot more of this philosophy of the fun, freedom, financial independence, or at surefiremarketing.com, SUREFIRE marketing.com.
Wonderful. Well, as always, Yanik, always great to talk with you, and you know a lot of stuff. Any famous last words for our listeners?
Well, you know what? It's something that I'll leave you with two of them, actually. One is a lot of people, when they start thinking about pursuing this online venture, they can't see the finish line. They get bogged down in all the little details, or they think that they got to do 1,000,001 different things, from putting up the web page to creating the autoresponder to buying the traffic to the list goes on and on and on. And what I've always taught my students is, if you break everything down and you just do even just one proactive thing a day, that will really get you to where you want to go. We ran an apprentice program. This was before Trump, where I worked with a select group of students for 1 year. And it was interesting. There's one guy who was he was a grandfather. He was about 60-some years old, knew nothing about the Internet. There's a bunch of other people in the program who were much faster. It's almost like the hare and the tortoise fable. And a bunch of them got big, quick, early leads on him. They were really working hard on their project and making big progress. But I taught Peter just, do that one proactive thing a day, because he had a full-time job already. And by the end of the year, he had eclipsed a lot of the other people in the group.
Wow!
By just that one little thing. And today he's doing very well online. So that's my business words of wisdom to lead people by. And then as far as the lifestyle stuff, this is something I always tell my wife Missy, and she thinks I stole it from somewhere, but I swear it's original. It is I say that you can't, because I'm doing all these, the running at the bulls and all this other stuff. Though I have upped my insurance policy now that I have 2 kids. But
yeah, no doubt.
She's like, what are you trying to do? Kill yourself? And I'm like, no. I'm not. I just want to experience life to the fullest. And I said, you can't control the way you die, but you can control the way you live.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is very good. You can't control the way you die, but you can control the way you live. No, very good. Yanik, we could talk for a long time. I'd love to do a future follow-up interview with you. I'm really glad we finally took the time to do this. I've talked about it with you for God knows how long. We've gone back and forth, and we finally actually set a date, and here we go.
Yeah, me too. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Now, to all the listeners, surefiremarketing.com is Yanik's site, one of his sites. He has many. internetroadtrip.com. You can check out all his crazy antics. And at some point in time, I'm sure, if you come to any of my events and things, you may be able to meet Yanik in person, because I will certainly invite you to many of the things that I do, Yanik. And it is always fun watching you and seeing all the good things you do. And for all the listeners, the things that we talked about, one of the best ways to experience it is just visit some of Yanik's sites, and you can see the actual autoresponders and all the things that he does. And, yeah, you may very well become a client or customer of his. However, that's one of the best ways to learn how to do this stuff is by experiencing it. So on behalf of myself and Piranha Marketing and Genius Network, thank you, Yanik, for taking the time to do this. And to all the listeners, give me your feedback on this. And if you'd like me to interview Yanik in the future, just let me know, and I will certainly call him up and try to nail him down and see if we can do it again. So thanks, Yanik.
Thanks, Joe. Bye-bye.
Hello, this is Joe Polish. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this interview. I hope you found it very useful. Please give me your feedback on all of the interviews that you listen to. I'd love to hear your feedback so we can always deliver a great program for you. Our website is www.joepolish.com, and we also have a Joe Polish Recommends section, so you can take a lot of the ideas and concepts that you hear on my Genius Network interview series and apply them to your business and find vendors and resources. You can go to joepolish.com to find that information and click on the Joe Polish Recommends section. And also, if you would like to find out about more interviews and invest in more useful Genius Network series interviews, go to www.geniusnetwork.com. Thanks, and eat your competition alive.